How exactly does the payment plan for the Batumi Tower work? A very, very crucial question. How do I actually pay for my apartment? And that's the question I'll be answering in this video. Hello and welcome. This is Florian Wilk again, Managing Director of CMC in Cyprus and Georgia. And today, once again, it's all about the Batumi Tower, this truly fantastic project. I really can't help but get excited about it, I have to admit. And today, I'd like to go into a bit more detail about the payment plan. That's absolutely crucial. Let's start right away with an example. You've decided on a comfortable one-bedroom apartment, meaning a spacious two-room apartment located on the 9th floor, specifically apartment number 915, and boasting a total area of 50.6 square meters. That puts you at a price per square meter, I'll round it a little for simplicity, of $3,300, a very competitive rate. I think that's very fair. I'll also convert it right away into euros, so that's a price per square meter of 2,825 euros. And just imagine that, for a truly significant and impressive project, a towering 40-story structure majestically situated right by the expansive and beautiful sea. And I haven't even mentioned yet, it's a corner apartment. That means you're on the corner of the tower. Incredibly good. In terms of the floor, we're not that high up. We're currently situated in the lower middle, I would say, specifically on the 9th floor. But from this very 9th floor, you see, you have an uninterrupted view. That's the crucial thing. The view isn't blocked or anything like that. So an incredibly exciting floor and exceptionally good purchase prices. For just 2,800 euros, that's truly and remarkably cheap. An absolute bargain, in fact. So, and then in total, I'll round it a little bit now, please forgive me, just to make it easier. We have a total price of $167,000 for the apartment, which is again about 143,000 euros. I'll continue calculating in euros now. How does the whole thing work? You pay $2,500 as a down payment, that's the reservation fee. I'll just disregard that for now. And that means, at the end of the day, to take the unit off the market, you pay that amount. And then, you have 30 days to make a down payment. And no one else can take the apartment away from you. That's the crucial thing about such a reservation fee. With projects like these, demand is very, very high, and unfortunately, it can happen quickly. It's happened to me before, that you fall in love with a unit, so to speak, and then someone else snatches it away from you. That really happens. It's not just marketing talk from agents or salespeople or anything like that. It actually does happen. And out of these 143,000 euros, there's a down payment that you have to make when you sign. Under the purchase contract, that's 28,600 euros. That's 20%. So a full 20% of the total amount is payable immediately upon the official signing of the purchase contract. All right, so now I will carefully calculate the difference between 143,000 and, what was the exact figure again, 28,300. Am I remembering that correctly now? That leaves us with 114,700 and then divide that by 48. You pay the rest in 48 monthly installments. This calculation is just an example. I calculated it in euros now, so it's easier to imagine. The contract will be made in dollars. That means the payments will, of course, also be made in US dollars. You have a certain currency risk. I mean, the dollar is a stable currency, it's a global currency, no question about it. Of course, the dollar can become more expensive compared to the euro, or it can also become cheaper. Accordingly, it's your decision how you want to handle it. Whether you say, well, I'll exchange an amount in advance just to lock in the good exchange rate, or you're optimistic that the exchange rate will continue to move in your favor. That's a matter of preference, which is why the calculation here isn't entirely precise, because we don't have the amount in euros, we have it in dollars, and of course it can fluctuate a bit. Normally, you'll have a kind of cost averaging effect, so to speak, so that it more or less balances out on average. So let's assume the exchange rate is now locked in, fixed and set. Then you're looking at roughly 2,400 euros per month for the installment. So you have the one-time payment, the 20%, and then you would pay 2,400 euros per month for a period of 4 years, and then at that point the property becomes entirely yours. And in a separate video, I also thoroughly demonstrate the potential financial returns and investment opportunities. That's interesting too, you should definitely check it out. I've prepared several videos about this tower, and it's absolutely worth taking a closer look. But I want to give you a second example. These corner apartments are, of course, very, very limited, and most of them are already gone. There are still a few more available studios to consider, and these studio apartments have the significant advantage of being very, very affordable, making them an excellent and practical option for many individuals. The price per square meter is a bit higher, naturally smaller unit, higher price per square meter, but the return, it could even be better than with a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment, because of course most guests are looking for a small unit and are willing to pay a higher rent relative to the size. And let me give you an example. I'll just take a brief moment to carefully look at my comprehensive list and then pick the very first one that naturally comes up, so to speak. So here it is. I'll pick one from a higher floor since there's not much of a price difference. I'll take the 15th floor. 15th. The 15th floor means you're almost halfway up. Like I said, there are 40 floors in total, so 15 is definitely in the middle range, absolutely. And the view from the 15th to the 20th floor, for example, isn't that different anymore. There's not a huge difference. But when it comes to price, there are definitely differences. Here we're looking at just under $4,000 per square meter. I know that when the 20th floor opens, it's not open yet, but when it does, they'll be asking around $4,700. That's some of the inside information I have. I can't guarantee it, but that's what I've heard. That's what was communicated to me, which means $700 more per square meter. So my question is it really worth paying $700 more for just 5 more floors for the 20th instead of the 15th floor? And of course, these prices will go up anyway in the future. That means the less is available and the more has been sold, the higher the prices will go, especially as construction progresses. When the tower is finished, I expect that the purchase price will have at least doubled. And I look at a lot of real estate projects internationally. That's basically my passion, alongside taxes. And I know many projects where the price per square meter is $9,000, $12,000, even $15,000. That's not at all uncommon for such truly exceptional flagship projects that are simply situated in a very special and premium location and have been meticulously developed by, let's say, a highly well-known and reputable developer and a renowned architectural firm. So by comparison, the $4,000 is an absolute and undeniable bargain. If you've already looked into the topic of these large international towers, these prestigious towers, then you can definitely confirm that. So back to this unit. This is unit 1530 here, and we have 28.6 square meters. So for a holiday studio, that's basically like a hotel room. And at the end of the day, I think it's a good size. And to be precise, that's 3,997.828, so 3 decimal places, dollars per square meter. All in all, rounded slightly, we're at $114,500. $114,500. Just imagine that for a moment. You're in on a project like this for $114,500. That's just under 98,000 euros. So not even 100,000 euros, and you have your own studio apartment on the 15th floor with 28.6 square meters. Not bad? Now I'll do a rough calculation because you can really round a bit here. 20% is about 20,000 euros, which you pay as a down payment. That's your down payment again when you sign the purchase contract. And then about 80,000 euros remain. And you pay that in 48 monthly installments. That comes out to 1,667, let's say 1,700, roughly speaking. You might have a few euros in transfer fees, let's say with a monthly installment of 1,700 euros. And then, after a period of 4 full years, this luxurious studio apartment truly belongs to you. And you are, so to speak, a proud co-owner, an integral part of this magnificent 40-story Batumi Tower, situated in the absolute most prestigious and highly sought-after location within the vibrant city of Batumi. So I think this is really great, an amazing opportunity. And the real question you have to ask yourself, depending on your financial situation, of course, is how many units should I take? So incredibly great. And my recommendation is get in touch with our local real estate partner. Because he provided me with this list of available units, there are actually still quite a few on it. But these are already pre-reserved units. You won't find them on the market anymore. So you can check with all the agents, all the real estate portals. You can even go directly to the developer. These units are no longer available on the market. They've been taken off the market. The prices have already been locked in, so to speak. In some cases, the prices have already gone up, depending on the floor, because the floors are being sold off one by one. And then, of course, the developer says, okay, now we're raising the prices for the remaining units, for what's still left, so to speak. And then, of course, you have price increases that you don't have here. So you actually save real money thanks to these locked-in prices, which is obviously brilliant. And you simply have a bit of choice. You can still decide, do I want this corner or that corner? Do I want the studio or do I want to go for a higher budget and rather take the 1+1 apartment? Here as well, I'll get to that, so please stay tuned. There are also actually two apartments with 2 bedrooms. I'll take the slightly cheaper one now, which is also conveniently located on the 9th floor, specifically unit number 932, offering a generous 71.3 square meters of living space for a total cost of roughly $3,400. That puts you at $242,350. So I think I said 242,000. Yeah, I still need to check that. Yes, $350. So that's a grand total of 207,500 euros, a substantial amount. And once again, here we have the details. Roughly speaking, I'll just calculate with 208,000 euros. Divided by 5, so that's 41,600 euros down payment. Again, as I said, the calculation isn't entirely precise since it's in euros. Yeah, but please check it again. I just want to make it a bit more tangible. You can't really picture it any better in euros. And the rest again over 48 monthly installments. And then for 208,000 euros, roughly calculated, you get a unit on the 9th floor with 2 bedrooms. And 71 square meters. By the way, that's a highly desirable corner unit as well. The 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom units in this particular list, at least, are always the very best corner apartments. So they're truly the absolute prime pieces of real estate, if you want to put it that way, in terms of their location and layout. So you have a truly desirable corner location and most definitely a much more expansive and impressive view that is absolutely guaranteed. Furthermore, you are situated on the 9th floor, which of course makes a very significant and noticeable difference here as well. I'll calculate it as a practical example. If you were to assume a price of $3,400 per square meter here too, then you would be looking at 2,910 euros. So in essence, just under 3,000 euros per square meter. You really have to let that sink in. And here, I haven't mentioned this yet, the whole thing is handed over turnkey. You have a management company that takes care of everything. There's a profit split, 60% for the investor, 40% for the developer. you get a turnkey apartment, not just a shell construction, because in Georgia it's common, unfortunately, I have to say unfortunately, because I would never do this, that you get a shell apartment and are then responsible for the interior finishing yourself. And of course that means noise, hassle and problems for the coming months, if not years. Because then neighbor A starts right away, but neighbor C only begins with the interior work in 1 or 2 years. That means pure chaos. I absolutely cannot recommend it. And you shouldn't be fooled by that either. Of course, there are also apartment projects in Batumi with completely different price per square meter. But then in some cases, you're half an hour outside the city. So we're really talking about a prime location here. I'm not exaggerating at all about this. We have the prime location and you simply can't compare that to being 30 minutes outside the city where there's nothing. Maybe 1 or 2 restaurants if you're lucky. No tourist wants that. No one books there. It's the same when it comes to the level of finish. Do you have a 5-star standard here, turnkey, or was it built quickly and cheaply and is just a shell? Those are absolutely apples and oranges and can't be compared. And the price per square meter of 2,910 euros for such a prestige project in a prime location with a casino, marina, restaurant and pools is incredibly good. But I don't want to convince you, I just have to say I'm really enthusiastic because these are truly attractive prices and conditions. And what I wanted to calculate is the difference compared to the 20th floor. That's a bit tentative because these aren't official numbers, but of course I want to share the information with you as well. So that's $700 times 71 square meters, $49,700, so a difference of $50,000. So you would pay $50,000 more for the 20th floor? But of course, that's now the difference between the 15th and the 20th floor. That's a different unit. Now I've gotten a bit off topic, so I made a mistake here, sorry. We actually have an even bigger difference compared to the 9th floor. So on the 15th floor, you're at $4,000. So that's the $700 and a $50,000 difference. I hope you can still follow me, sorry. But if I now consider the other unit, I took the cheaper one. That one is at $3,400. So then I am looking at a difference of $1,300 between the 9th and the 20th floor. That's definitely a difference, no question. 9th floor, 20th is a different view. No need to discuss it, you have to be realistic. But here, that means 71, the $1,300 price difference times 71 square meters. $92,300. That also seemed way too low to me just now. $92,300 price difference. So you really have a choice here. Do you want to pay? Consider this scenario. You have the opportunity to purchase a beautiful apartment for $242,000, specifically located on the 9th floor of a desirable building. Alternatively, would you prefer to acquire that very same identical apartment situated on the exact same corner, but instead on the much higher 12th floor for a slightly increased price of $256,600? This illustrates the significant difference in value and perception that can arise from seemingly minor variations in location within a property. And of course, you could just as well go up to the 20th floor and then you're at $4,700. So, to put it roughly, you have a difference of $50,000 to $90,000 just because of a few floors difference. And that once again shows the approach here, which I find very, very good. Better to be on a slightly lower floor and save $50,000 or even $90,000. Of course, with smaller units, it's a bit less, but in percentage terms, it's still a lot, and that increases your return. Because in my opinion, you're welcome to disagree with me, but my view is that guests don't necessarily pay more for a higher floor or only minimally more. And I know this from hotels as well. When I'm offered a middle or higher floor, I usually don't book it. And then I end up getting an upgrade to a higher floor anyway or something like that. That's how it is in many hotels, but I end up paying the cheaper rate. Of course, that means for me as an investor, if I'm investing in an apartment, is it really worth spending 90,000 more or 50,000 more? Or do I basically save that money, spend less for a very, very similar product, just a few meters lower? That's a matter of personal preference if you say money is no object. I want the 30th floor, the 35th floor, or I want the penthouse on the 40th floor, the entire floor. That's possible. Absolutely. No question about it. You're welcome to talk to our real estate partner about that. They can make that happen too. But as an investor, from an investor's perspective, maximizing returns is of course important. And that's why my recommendation is to look at the lower middle floors. 9th to 15th floor, like I said, there are really only a few remaining units left with this exception. So a great opportunity. And to keep the video from getting too long, I'll wrap things up here, so to speak. I look forward to your feedback. Feel free to leave a comment. And please don't forget to subscribe to the channel as well. Feel free to leave a like if you enjoyed the video. And please don't hesitate to contact our real estate partner, our German real estate partner on site in Batumi. Have all the documents sent to you, brochures, videos, and then take your time to decide which unit interests you and what suits your taste and investment preferences. So thank you very much, all the best and much success with your investment in Batumi. See you again very, very soon. Yours, Florian Wilk.